let me just talk to you a little bit about our next speaker. I've been with him for a couple of Latin American calls and stuff. And one of the amazing things that I've seen him is actually social media. In one of our customer calls that we've had and visits, he was really racking it in here and putting all of this genuine insights and started sharing them socially and online, right? And it shows really how passionate this guy is, which makes him really an ideal speaker of translating some of this customer experience into a real-world risk framework and strategy. So let's welcome my friend, amigo, Juan Castro, to share some of our insights about how do we target a risk-based framework in today's threat.
Despite rising investments, cyber attacks still succeed, exposing the limits of checklist security. Risk-based strategies aligned with business goals, guided by frameworks like NIST CSF 2.0 and DORA, help organizations respond smarter and faster. In cybersecurity, the future isn't reactive, it's proactive. Juan Castro is a senior cybersecurity strategist at Trend Micro with over 20 years of experience. He advises governments and industries, collaborates with global organizations like Interpol, and develops innovative cybersecurity frameworks to help organizations stay ahead of evolving threats and digital risk.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our strategy session. Thank you for being here with us and being part of this extremely important moment in cybersecurity history. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit about the strategy and how we can create place to win in this risk-based cybersecurity world. First of all, I would like to tell you about how this cyber risk thing is so important for us. Why? Because for many years, the cyber risk has been something about IT, and now should be a business issue. Why cyber risk is a different kind of risk, and why it's so important for us? Because we have learned from many years that cyber criminals are taking advantage on our indecision about cyber risk. So how can we be more aware? And why cyber risk is different for any other risk? Remember, cyber risk is different because it is dynamic, it is continuous, and it's shared. It's a totally different kind of risk. It should not be managed in the same way. And as soon as our attack surface grow, the cyber risk grow. And also in this session, we are going to learn how those 4 customers have overpassed the challenge about cyber risk exposure management. But before that, how we get there, right? Why we are having those problems today? It's because we are using reactive cybersecurity. What is reactive cybersecurity? Let me explain a little bit for examples. For example, your SOC reacts for an incident. If you don't have an incident, your SOC don't tell you anything, right? But that incident became with a cyber risk that was not properly managed. The other part is the alerts overload, but not only the kind of overload of alert that we're thinking. It's about the lack of context. Risk is all about context, and cybersecurity is all about context. If we know the right context, we can understand and prioritize where we are. The other part that is extremely important to understand is if we don't manage the cyber risk in the right way, we are going to respond slowly. And also, what we need to do is to understand the attack surface is growing, and the lack of visibility of that kind of things is important. So we need to depend not just on endpoints. We need to see everything, every digital asset that is connected to our network. The other part that we need to understand how we get there is about when we throw technology to the problem, right? We say, oh, I need that, and I need that technology, and another technology, and it ends with a lot of technology, and you need to manage a lot of technologies, but they are siloed. When cyber risk, you need to understand that kind of technology and integrate all together. And also, the people to manage that, right? It's not only the amount of technology you have, because when we're talking about a strategy, we need to talk about technology, people, and process. And we don't have the right process and the right people, this is going to be very different. And the other important part is how we think, right? How we detect that we are there in the reactive mode. The first thing that we need to know is about when we think compliance is like security, right? We are doing that, a checklist of things, or when we are doing our cyber insurance, I say you have that. So this is important for us. This is not security. This is not proactive security, of course. But also understand that attackers think in a totally different way. They don't think in compliance, checklist, or whatever. They think in the path of less resistance. So the leadership team is extremely important to create that risk-based cybersecurity approach. Why? Because if the leadership team is not engaged and keeps thinking in that way, where you find and buy any technology, and then you see the threats are escalating and the defenses are not doing your job, why is that happening? How do I get there? If you feel that your cybersecurity program is like a firefighting mode, always trying to respond to an incident, waiting for your SOC to do something, you need to change your mindset. And that's why we are here, to think a way, to find a way how you can switch from reactive mode to proactive mode. And let's start our journey. Every journey starts with the first step. So, understanding and acknowledging that you are in that mode, in reactive mode, is the first step that you need to take. How do you know if you are in reactive mode? Of course, when you have a lot of alerts, then when you are responding every time, when you are patching every vulnerability that you can find based only in the CVE score, and you don't have the right visibility of all your assets. Maybe you are managing them in an Excel. But what are the risks of that approach? Of course, you are not responding in the right time, then the incident response every time is more costly, and also the compliance is always about a checklist. So in that step, you need to think in the first move and how we are going to move. Invest in foundational attack surface visibility, right? This is our first move, thinking in how we are going to understand our attack surface. When we did that move, we switched from reactive to tactical. And tactical means that we are starting to having a lot of visibility of the risk, but we still have manual process. We are still doing some patching based on other kind of things, but one of the most important signals that we need to understand is how security and IT operate in silos. If you look at this and you feel that way, you are in the tactical mode. And the risk for the tactical mode is the risk reduction, right? So you are doing some kind of risk reduction, but like in slow motion. But you create a false confidence in how the vulnerabilities are managed. Let's plan our next move to move to the next level, right? If we not only think in understanding the attack surface, but adding the risk-based exposure management, we are moving from tactical to risk-driven. This is extremely important. This is a critical step where we need to take to reach the proactive mode. What is risk-driven? It's talking about risk for everything, right? Risk is the language business. So when we do the prioritization based on the risk that we have for each digital asset and context that in the business impact and translate that in business terms, and we automate that, we are reaching that level. This is so important for us and is extremely strategically. When you automate the cyber risk scoring and the compliance of your company, you are taking that next move. And that move is extremely important to implement a risk-based cybersecurity framework. How do we know that? Because maybe we are thinking, okay, that's so nice, but this is a data from our data analyst team. Our data scientists analyzed all our customers, more than 3,000 customers using cyber risk exposure management, and they detected that if you keep your risk scoring lower than the average of the industry of your company, you are going to reduce by 92% the probability of suffering a ransomware infection. And this is based on our own data, so it's real. Keeping the risk score low improves your cybersecurity strategy. But also, we need to stay compliant, something that cybercriminals don't need, of course. So they don't need to be compliant or keep with budgets or whatever, or show the ROI of an attack that the cybercriminals are doing. But we need to stay compliant. But not only that. One thing that all the CISOs always ask to me in those 24 years of cybersecurity industry, they say, okay, Juan Pablo, how can I show the business? They keep asking me how is that attack is going to impact the business. Now with risk scoring, we have a great start. But look at what we are delivering right now, right? We are having a way to put the context of your business in money inside Vision One, right? This is for you to create a better communication tool using AI, using machine learning models, using Monte Carlo simulation, using probability indicators, keeping you aligned with the business objective. And all of that is thanks to the artificial intelligence and the models that we are developing for you. So then, if we switch from risk-driven, we go to proactive mode. Finally, we reach that way. How does it feel, right? You feel that you are anticipating the threats. You are using AI and automation in the right way. You are doing things faster. And also, you are creating a common language with the business. It's not more cybersecurity is talking about some attacks or whatever that the business is not understanding. For first time in history, you can translate that in business terms. And the results, the outcome, is you are going to do better decisions, right? You are making better decisions. Remember, risk management is all about making better decisions. It's trying to anticipate, trying to automate the things and engaging and align with the executive level. And those are things that we learn from the analyst. We are reducing our time to respond in 65% by adopting a risk-based approach. Also, we have fewer alerts, not because we are doing things different on the SOC side. It's because we are managing risk before it materializes. The other parts are the savings. It saves a lot of money because you are doing things before they materialize. And your next move, going to the right place, is quantify the business impact of cybersecurity, bringing those strategies to real life with real money about the impact. Let's summarize the strategy so far. First of all, understand where you are in this path, right? Second one, think in a way that you are doing the first move. And last is to anticipate and don't react. Then we are ready to do the final move, right? Aligning the cybersecurity with the business and being more proactive today. So how organizations are doing that? And at the start of this session, I promise you to give you some insights and real use cases. So how that organizations are doing that? For example, this organization in Canada, right? most of their challenge are like protecting intellectual property, right? And the problem with security systems that are fragmented and in silos. So using cyber risk exposure management, the results is that they improve the efficiency and they have minimum incident security, right, today, and enhance the reporting to the board. This other company from United States, they have a lot of tools and fragmented visibility, and maybe you feel identified with those challenges. But implementing that kind of cyber risk and risk-based frameworks, the reduction of the mean time to respond is 63%. This is highly, highly important. And also the way they reduce the false positives, because they are attacking the problem before it materializes. This other company in Singapore, right, with a complex and evolving IT environment, they need compliance, they need the security reporting to executives, right? So when they use this kind of approach and this kind of strategy, they improve the system uptime. This is extremely important because when you invest in cybersecurity is to improve the company operations and the uptime. And also, they talk with their risk management team about how to improve the process of other risk management. And the last company in Germany, they don't have visibility, right? This is a manufacturing company. Different sectors, right? Different challenge. So when they implement that kind of strategy, they get faster response, they get scalability, they get more coverage of the risk, and they have created a common business language to get the executives on board. So right now, as every CISO wants to be proactive, now you know how to be proactive and how proactive security starts here and now.